Good morning, everyone. I'd like you to imagine the very first moments of your day. The alarm rings, your mind is already racing, and before your feet even touch the floor, you're scrolling through emails or worrying about the tasks ahead. For so many of us, mornings set the tone for everything that follows. If anxiety greets us at sunrise, it tends to walk beside us all day. But what if just 10 minutes each morning could help us step into the day with calm, clarity, and confidence? This isn't about reinventing your entire lifestyle, it's about creating a simple routine that anyone can commit to. The goal is to shift your nervous system from tension to balance and to give your mind a moment of space before the world rushes in. Start by waking and resisting the urge to reach for your phone. Instead, place one hand on your chest and take 3 deep, steady breaths. It may sound small, but those breaths are a signal to your body you are safe and you can slow down. Next, move into gentle stretching. You don't need a yoga mat or special equipment. Just roll your shoulders, stretch your spine, reach your arms overhead. As your body opens, you're also telling your mind that today you're choosing ease instead of strain. Then take 2 minutes to journal. Write down what's circling in your head, fears to dose, even stray thoughts. When we empty our mental clutter onto paper, it loses its grip on us. Alongside those worries, jot down one intention for the day. Something simple: I will approach today with patience, or I will give myself permission to pause. Now, spend a couple of minutes with gratitude. Speak it or write it. 3 things you appreciate, no matter how ordinary: the comfort of your bed, the smell of your morning coffee, the smile of someone you love. Gratitude shifts the brain's focus from what's threatening to what's nurturing. Finally, choose stillness. Close your eyes, sit quietly, and let your breath settle. Even just 2 minutes of silence grounds you in the present moment, creating a pocket of peace that anxiety can't easily invade. And there you have it, 10 minutes. 10 minutes that can transform the way you meet the day. Not by eliminating challenges, but by reminding you that calm is something you can cultivate. Anxiety may knock on the door in the morning, but you don't have to let it walk in and stay. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, give yourself those 10 minutes. Protect that small window of time as a gift to your mental health, because how you begin shapes how you continue. And when you start calm, you give yourself permission to carry calm with you wherever the day may lead. When we think about the beginning of a day, it is often filled with an urgency that feels impossible to control. The alarm clock rings, the phone lights up with notifications, and our first impulse is to dive into that stream of information, messages, and responsibilities before we had even had a chance to orient ourselves. Many of us start the morning already overwhelmed, and that sense of chaos lingers like an invisible weight across our shoulders. But there is another way. The way we begin our mornings is not just a routine habit. It is a direct message to our nervous system and to our mind about what kind of day we expect. If we meet the morning with stillness, with calm, even just for a few minutes, we set into motion a rhythm of clarity and balance that follows us into every task, every conversation, and every challenge we encounter. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty and speed. When we wake up and rush headlong into the demands of the world, we create a fertile ground for anxiety to grow. The mind starts racing with what needs to be done, what could go wrong, and how much time we don't have. The heart rate rises, breathing becomes shallow, and before long, we are carrying a nervous energy that influences our decisions and interactions. Starting the day this way becomes a pattern that is hard to escape, and many people don't realize that the stress they feel at noon or in the evening was planted like a seed in the very first minutes of the morning. Beginning with calm instead of chaos is not a luxury or an indulgence. It is a form of self-care that protects our mental health and allows us to navigate the day from a place of strength rather than reactivity. Calm in the morning begins with a choice. The choice is simple but powerful. Do I allow the world to rush in, or do I create a pause that centers me? This pause can be as brief as 3 deep breaths taken with full awareness. The breath is not just a biological necessity, it is also one of the most effective tools for influencing our mental state. When we take 6 slow, deliberate breaths right after waking, we tell the body that we are safe. This message is received by the nervous system, which shifts us out of the fight or flight mode that so easily accompanies anxiety. The brain too follows this cue, slowing its flood of worried thoughts and allowing more space for focus. The beauty of this practice is that it requires nothing more than awareness and intention. Consider the difference between 2 mornings. In the first, the alarm rings, and the hand immediately grabs the phone. Social media feeds flood the screen, news alerts flash, headlines filled with conflict, and emails from work raise questions about unfinished tasks. Before the first sip of water, the mind is already overstimulated. In the second scenario, the alarm rings and the hand stays still. The phone remains untouched. Instead, the eyes close for a moment, and 3 deep breaths are taken. The air fills the lungs, the chest expands, and the exhale is released slowly. This simple act shifts the chemistry of the body, releasing tension, lowering the heart rate, and sending signals of reassurance to the brain. From there, the morning unfolds with a sense of calm readiness. The difference may seem small, but over time, this small shift can change the entire relationship a person has with anxiety. Beginning with calm is not about avoiding responsibilities or pretending that challenges do not exist. Rather, it is about creating a foundation that allows us to face those responsibilities with steadiness. Think of it like preparing the soil before planting seeds. If the soil is dry and hardened, seeds struggle to grow. But if it is nourished, moist, and ready, the seeds flourish. Our minds are the same. A chaotic morning creates hardened ground where anxious thoughts easily take root. But a calm morning nourishes us with a mental openness that allows resilience and clarity to grow. There is also a deeper layer to starting the day with calm, and that is the symbolic meaning of the morning itself. Mornings are not just the start of a new day, they are an invitation to renewal. Each sunrise offers us a chance to begin again. No matter what yesterday held, by choosing calm, we honor that invitation. We tell ourselves that we are worthy of peace, that our lives do not need to be dictated by rush or worry, and that we have the power to shape our experience. This is profoundly healing for those who live with anxiety, because anxiety often convinces us that we are powerless, that we must react to whatever happens without choice. Creating calm in the morning is a daily reminder that we do have choice and that our choices matter. Calm is also contagious. When we begin our day from a centered place, the way we interact with others shifts. Instead of snapping at a colleague, we listen with patience. Instead of carrying tension into a family conversation, we bring gentleness. These small interactions ripple outward, creating an environment of stability and kindness, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. The people we meet throughout the day may never know that our calmness was born in the first 10 minutes of the morning, but they will feel its effects. In this way, choosing calm is not only a gift to ourselves, but also to our communities. The practice of beginning with calm can take many forms beyond breathwork. For some, it may mean stretching the body gently to release stiffness. For others, it may be sitting by the window to watch the light change, or sipping a glass of water slowly and with intention. The form is not as important as the spirit behind it. The spirit is one of slowing down, of choosing presence over distraction, of stepping into the day with awareness instead of autopilot. Each person can find the version that resonates with them, but the outcome is the same: a nervous system that feels steadier, a mind that feels less cluttered, and a heart that feels more open. There is often resistance to this idea because people fear they do not have enough time. 10 minutes or even 5 feels like a luxury in the rush of modern life. But the truth is, time spent in calm is never wasted. In fact, it saves time later by reducing the likelihood of mistakes made in haste, by improving focus so tasks are completed more efficiently, and by lowering the stress that drains energy. What we gain in clarity and balance far outweighs the minutes we spend cultivating it. Choosing calm in the morning is like making an investment that yields returns all day long. It is also worth acknowledging that beginning with calm does not mean that anxiety will vanish forever. Life is complex and worries are a natural part of being human, but calm gives us a tool, a starting point from which anxiety does not have as much power. When anxious thoughts appear, as they inevitably do, we can meet them with a body and mind that have already tasted peace. This makes it easier to step back, to question whether those thoughts deserve our full attention, and to return to balance more quickly. Without that calm foundation, anxiety often feels like it sweeps us away with no anchor. The first moments of the morning are more powerful than we often realize. They act like a doorway, and the way we step through that doorway influences the path we take. If we enter rushing, distracted, and tense, we carry that energy with us. If we enter with breath, stillness, and awareness, we carry calm instead. This is not just about personal well-being. It is about creating a daily practice that slowly reshapes our relationship with the world. Over weeks and months, the habit of beginning with calm rewires the brain to be less reactive, trains the nervous system to feel more secure, and teaches the heart to trust in its own capacity for peace. So beginning with calm instead of chaos is more than a suggestion. It is a philosophy for living. It is a reminder that we are not victims of our mornings, but authors of them. We get to decide what kind of rhythm carries us into the day, and we can choose one that nurtures rather than drains us. The next time the alarm rings and the world calls for your immediate attention, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that calm is not far away. It is right here, available in the first inhalation, in the first conscious choice, and from that choice, everything else begins to change. When we think about creating calm in our lives, it is easy to imagine that it requires a grand transformation. People often believe they must commit to an hour of meditation, follow a strict exercise routine, or completely reorganize their schedule in order to feel less anxious and more balanced. This belief, though common, often becomes another source of stress. The pressure to do everything right leaves us feeling paralyzed, so we end up doing nothing at all. What is so liberating, and what many people overlook, is that real change begins not with massive leaps, but with small, intentional steps. These steps are manageable, they are realistic, and when practiced consistently, they create a foundation of calm that can carry us through even the most difficult days. Anxiety feeds on overwhelm. It whispers that we are not enough, that there is too much to do, that we can never keep up. The antidote to that is not to pile more expectations on ourselves, but to strip them back and find simplicity. This is why tiny, deliberate actions are so powerful. A minute of stretching, a few lines written in a journal, a short acknowledgement of gratitude. These may seem insignificant on their own, but together they weave a rhythm of stability and mindfulness. They remind us that calm is not something distant or unreachable. It is something we can create here and now in small doses. Take stretching, for example. You wake up and before you even begin your day, you roll your shoulders back, stretch your arms above your head, and gently twist your spine. This does not take more than 60 seconds. But in those movements, you are telling your body, I care for you. You are releasing tension that built up during the night, increasing circulation, and signaling to your brain that you are ready to meet the day with energy rather than sluggishness. A single stretch will not erase anxiety, but when done consistently, it becomes a ritual of self-respect that anchors your morning. Journaling is another small but intentional step. Anxiety often lives in the mind as a loop of repeating thoughts, circling endlessly with no resolution. When you take just 2 minutes to write down those thoughts, whether they are worries, tasks, or emotions, you break the loop. You give your mind permission to set them aside because they now exist somewhere outside of you. The act of writing also creates clarity. A problem that feels enormous in your head often looks more manageable on paper. Alongside releasing worries, journaling offers space for setting intentions. By writing one simple intention, such as, "Today I will be patient with myself," you give your mind a compass, something to return to throughout the day when stress begins to pull you off course. This takes less than 5 minutes, but shapes the way you interact with yourself and others for hours afterward. Gratitude, too, is a small step with immense power. At first, it can feel forced to list things you are grateful for when your mind is preoccupied with worries, yet the practice works not because the items on the list are grand, but precisely because they are ordinary. When you notice the warmth of sunlight on your face, the taste of your morning tea, or the comfort of your favorite chair, you redirect your attention away from imagined dangers toward real and nurturing experiences. This simple shift rewires the brain over time, making it more natural to notice positives rather than negatives. Anxiety thrives when the mind is always scanning for threats, but gratitude interrupts that pattern and offers evidence that safety, beauty, and comfort are present right here. Even a list of 3 things can tilt the balance of your mind toward calm. The beauty of small steps is that they are accessible. You do not need special tools, expensive memberships, or long stretches of free time. You do not need to wake at dawn to practice them, nor do you need to be an expert in mindfulness. All that is required is intention, the choice to pause, to breathe, to move, or to write even for a short while. These actions are like drops of water. A single drop does not fill the cup, but over days and weeks, the drops accumulate until the cup is overflowing. This is how calm is cultivated, not in one grand gesture, but in repeated, deliberate moments of care. There is also a psychological power in keeping steps small. When goals are too large, they often become overwhelming and trigger procrastination. Anxiety increases because the mind interprets the task as unachievable. But when the step is small, the mind relaxes. It's a yes, I can do this. The success of completing that step builds confidence, which in turn creates motivation to continue. Over time, the small steps become a chain of successes that add up to significant change. This is why someone who spends just 10 minutes each morning on stretching, journaling, gratitude, and stillness can feel a noticeable reduction in anxiety within weeks. Small steps are also flexible. Life is unpredictable, and there will be mornings when your schedule is disrupted. If you have built your calm around an hour-long routine, missing it might feel like a failure that adds to stress. But if your routine is composed of tiny, intentional acts, you can adapt. Maybe you cannot journal today, but you can still take 3 deep breaths. Maybe you cannot stretch for 5 minutes, but you can still pause for 1. The flexibility ensures that you stay connected to calm even when life becomes chaotic. There is a deeper reason why small steps matter. They reinforce the truth that calm is not something external, given to us by perfect conditions. Calm is internal. It is cultivated moment by moment, choice by choice. The world may still be loud and unpredictable, but when you commit to tiny actions that center you, you prove to yourself that calm is possible even within noise. This builds resilience. Anxiety tells us that we need to control everything to feel safe, but small intentional practices teach us that even in the midst of uncertainty, we can create islands of peace. Imagine 2 people standing at the edge of a long staircase. One looks up and feels overwhelmed by the number of steps ahead, thinking, "I can never climb this." The other looks only at the first step, saying, "I can take this one." That second person begins moving, and step by step, they make their way to the top. Small, intentional steps in the morning work the same way. You may not feel like you can conquer the entire day at once, but you can take a breath. You can write 1 sentence. You can stretch your arms. Each of these steps leads you forward, and before long, you are not just surviving the day, but meeting it with calm strength. It is important to remember that intentionality is what makes small steps powerful. Going through the motions without awareness will not bring the same benefit. For instance, stretching while scrolling on your phone divides attention and prevents the body from truly releasing tension. Writing in a journal while rushing through a to-do list loses the chance for clarity. Intentionality means giving your full presence to the moment, however brief it may be. Even 1 deep breath taken with full awareness can be more transformative than 10 minutes of distracted activity. Over time, these small, intentional practices do more than reduce anxiety in the moment. They recondition the brain and nervous system. The brain learns to associate mornings with calm instead of chaos. The nervous system becomes accustomed to moving out of stress mode and into rest mode more easily. Emotional resilience increases because you start each day by reminding yourself that peace is something you can create, not something you must wait for. This long-term effect is what makes the practice sustainable. You are not just managing anxiety, you are reshaping the very patterns that allow anxiety to dominate. So when we say use small, intentional steps, it is not about underestimating what is possible. It is about recognizing that true change begins with what is doable, and what is doable is always within reach. No matter how anxious or busy you feel, you can take 1 step, and then another, and another. In those steps lies the quiet but undeniable power to change the tone of your mornings, and by extension, the quality of your days. Small steps are not small in their impact. They are profound precisely because they are sustainable. They remind us that calm is not a destination reached only by the disciplined or the lucky. It is a path we can all walk 1 intentional moment at a time. Tomorrow, when you wake, you do not need to ask yourself, "Can I handle the whole day?" You only need to ask, "What small step can I take right now?" And when you answer that question with action, you begin to build a morning that belongs not to anxiety but to calm. The way a day begins often determines the way it unfolds. The first 10 minutes after waking are more powerful than we realize, and yet for many of us they slip by unnoticed, consumed by routine habits that do little to nurture peace. The moment the alarm sounds, we may reach for our phones, scroll through messages, check the news, or rush straight into the whirlwind of responsibilities waiting for us. Those first 10 minutes are treated as disposable, but in truth, they are sacred. They are the doorway between rest and action, between night and day, between stillness and movement. To protect the first 10 minutes is to protect our mental health, to claim ownership of our mornings rather than handing them over to anxiety, distraction, and noise. Why are those 10 minutes so important? Because the mind is most impressionable in that transition from sleep to wakefulness. The brain moves gradually from slower waves of rest into faster, alert patterns. In this delicate state, whatever we expose ourselves to sets the tone. If it is chaos, the body and mind will follow chaos. If it is calm, the body and mind will follow calm. Anxiety thrives when we feed it early, when we greet the day with stress before giving ourselves a chance to breathe. By contrast, when we create even a small bubble of peace at the start, we carry that steadiness forward. Protecting those minutes is less about what we do and more about what we do not allow. It is about not letting the world intrude before we are ready, not letting external demands claim us before we have claimed ourselves. Think of the first 10 minutes as a kind of shield. Life will bring its challenges. There is no way to avoid that. But if the shield is strong, we are less vulnerable to being knocked off balance. If the shield is weak, or if we walk into the day without one, every small stressor feels heavier, every unexpected moment feels sharper. Protecting those minutes is the act of strengthening the shield before stepping into the day. It is not about denying reality, but preparing ourselves to meet it from a place of calm. There is a quiet discipline in this practice because protecting those minutes means resisting familiar impulses. The phone calls to us with its glow, promising connection, promising information, promising entertainment, but more often than not, what it delivers is comparison, urgency, and unease. The mind is pulled into other people's lives, other people's crises, other people's expectations before it has even had a chance to inhabit its own. Protecting the first 10 minutes is saying no to that pull. It is choosing instead to remain present with the body, the breath, and the self. This is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of responsibility. When we meet ourselves first, we meet others more calmly and compassionately afterward. How those minutes are used can vary from person to person. Some may choose to sit in silence, focusing on the rhythm of their breathing. Others may stretch gently, allowing the body to awaken with ease. Some may drink a glass of water slowly, noticing its coolness, reminding themselves of nourishment. Others may write down thoughts, clearing mental clutter before it grows. The specific activity matters less than the intention to treat those first minutes as sacred space, not as disposable filler. To say, these moments belong to me and I will guard them. That intention alone transforms ordinary actions into rituals of calm. It is worth considering what happens when we do not protect those minutes. We wake and immediately check emails. The mind races unfinished tasks, deadlines, obligations. Stress hormones surge before we have even left the bed. Or we scroll through social media, comparing ourselves to curated snapshots of other people's lives. The sense of inadequacy begins before the day has truly begun. Or we watch the news, absorbing headlines of conflict and uncertainty. And anxiety takes root before we have even tasted breakfast. This becomes the foundation on which the rest of the day is built. Protecting the first 10 minutes prevents this erosion of peace. It gives us the choice to set the foundation with intention instead of accident. There is also a symbolic power in this practice. When we guard the first 10 minutes, we send a message to ourselves that we matter. We declare that our inner state is valuable, that it deserves attention before the outside world claims us. For many people, anxiety is tied to a sense of being out of control, of life happening to them without their consent. But protecting those minutes is a simple, daily act of reclaiming control. It is a reminder that we are not powerless. We can choose how we step into the day. This sense of agency is deeply healing because it counters the helplessness anxiety often imposes. Some may worry that they do not have the luxury of extra time in the morning. Yet this practice does not require hours. It asks only for 10 minutes or even 5 to pause before rushing forward. And those minutes, those short, ripple outward into the entire day. A calm start changes how we commute, how we work, how we interact with others. It reduces reactivity, allowing us to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. It strengthens focus, so tasks feel less overwhelming. It lightens the weight of stress, so challenges feel more manageable. In this way, those protected minutes are not just for the morning. They are for the whole day that follows. Protecting the first 10 minutes also builds consistency. When practiced daily, it becomes a ritual the body and mind come to expect. Just as brushing our teeth signals hygiene, these minutes signal calm. The more consistently we practice, the more natural calm becomes. Be until it is less an effort and more a habit. Over time, the nervous system learns to settle more quickly, the brain learns to scan less for danger, and the heart learns to trust in its own steadiness. What began as 10 minutes becomes a lasting shift in how we experience life. There is also a collective dimension to this practice. When one person protects their calm, the people around them feel the effects. A parent who begins the day with calm speaks more gently to their child. A leader who begins the day with calm makes decisions with greater clarity. A partner who begins the day with calm listens with more patience. In this way, protecting those first 10 minutes is not just an individual choice, but a contribution to healthier relationships and communities. Calm spreads outward, creating environments that are less reactive, less anxious, more compassionate. The practice does not need to be rigid. Protecting those minutes is about intention, not perfection. There will be mornings when life interrupts, when alarms are missed, when urgent calls arrive, when children need immediate attention. But even then, if the habit is strong, you can carry a trace of calm into the moment, remembering that those minutes belong to you and can be reclaimed later. The goal is not to practice flawlessly, but to build a consistent rhythm, one that reminds you daily of your capacity to create calm. In the end, protecting the first 10 minutes is about honoring beginnings. Every day offers us a beginning, and how we treat it matters. We can either hand it over to anxiety and distraction, or we can claim it as our own, shaping it into a space of peace. 10 minutes may not sound like much, but it is enough to remind the body of safety, the mind of clarity, and the heart of balance. It is enough to turn a rushed, anxious morning into one that begins with steadiness. And when we begin steady, we walk steady. So tomorrow, when the alarm rings, pause. Do not let the world claim you yet. Protect those first minutes as if they are precious, because they are. Breathe, stretch, sit in silence. Whatever form it takes, let it be yours. And notice how the rest of the day changes when you guard the doorway to it with calm. Protecting the first 10 minutes is not a small act. It is a declaration: I will not let chaos choose the tone of my day. I will choose it myself. And that choice is the beginning of freedom from anxiety.